Have you ever found yourself wondering if love in your later years is worth chasing again? Maybe you've felt lonely since losing a spouse, or perhaps you've met someone new and the idea of tying the knot again is on your mind. The heart is a powerful thing. It doesn't stop needing connection just because the calendar keeps turning. But before you say, "I do" again after 70, there are some serious truths you deserve to hear, truths that most people won't tell you. Today, we're diving into 5 surprising reasons why many senior life experts say, hold off on remarriage. Not because love is wrong, but because, sometimes, what looks like the right path may quietly lead you into emotional, financial, and even physical risk. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. But let me say this first. This isn't about judgment. It's about empowerment. You've lived enough life to know that nothing is black and white. You've seen joy and heartbreak, clarity and confusion. What we're talking about here is choosing peace, autonomy, and deep, lasting happiness in this stage of your life, not chasing after an idea just because society says we should pair off again. So if this message resonates even a little, I invite you to stay with me. You're not alone, and this conversation might be one of the most important ones we've had in a long time. And before we go any further, I want to gently ask, if this video helps you, or if you think someone you love needs to hear it, please consider sharing it. So many seniors are silently struggling with these very questions, and your small act of sharing might just change a life. Now, let's talk about what no one else is really saying out loud. At 70 or beyond, most people assume you've slowed down, that you've shrunk your world, simplified your life, and want nothing more than companionship in your golden years. But that assumption can be quietly dangerous, because with that companionship sometimes comes compromise. Compromise that might cost you more than you're willing to give. One of the biggest, and most overlooked, reason senior experts warn against remarriage later in life is loss of independence. It doesn't sound dramatic, but it's profound. You've spent years, decades, even building a rhythm that works for you. Your habits, your schedule, your home, your routines. They may seem small, but they are the heartbeat of your peace. When you marry again, even if it's someone you care about deeply, your life is no longer fully your own. That daily cup of coffee exactly how you like it, the TV shows you enjoy in the quiet of evening, your choice of doctor, even the way you arrange your closet, those things begin to shift. And while that might sound trivial to someone younger, at this stage, those little things are often what hold our world together. Take, for example, a woman named Joan. She was 74 when she remarried a man she met through church. At first, everything felt like a dream. She felt seen again, alive, even beautiful. But within a year, she found herself exhausted. Her new husband wanted different meals, rearranged the furniture, had strong opinions about how she spent her time. Slowly, Joan stopped attending her book club. She changed her daily walks because he preferred to watch television in the evenings and wanted her there beside him. She gave up her volunteer work. "I don't know who I am anymore," she told her daughter one night in tears. "I wanted to be loved, but I didn't know I'd disappear." This isn't to say Joan made a mistake. There is no shame in wanting love. But the warning here is quiet and powerful. After 70, autonomy is gold. And giving it up, even for someone who seems worth it, comes with a cost. Another startling reason to think twice is financial vulnerability. Many people underestimate just how quickly money can become a wedge in later life marriages. Unlike your younger years, where shared financial goals often meant building a life together, in your 70s, you've already built your life. You've worked, saved, made sacrifices. Your retirement, your house, your medical plans, they've all been shaped around your personal needs. Marrying again can complicate or even upend all of that. We've seen countless stories where seniors marry, only to discover their new spouse's debts, family drama, or spending habits are nothing short of overwhelming. In some heartbreaking cases, adult children have fought legal battles over estates, or a second spouse has gained power of attorney and made decisions not in the original partner's best interest. If this sounds like a cautionary tale, it is, and it happens far more than people realize. A respected elder law attorney once said in an interview, "I've seen seniors lose everything, not to scams, but to someone they loved." It's a chilling thought, because when you're in love, you don't think about prenups. You don't think about estate planning or health proxies. You think about companionship. And that's exactly where things can go wrong. A man named Richard, a retired school principal from Ohio, shared that when he remarried at 72, he assumed his pension and savings were safe. But after his new wife convinced him to put her name on the deed to his home, just in case, he found himself in court 2 years later, trying to keep the house he'd lived in for over 40 years. The emotional toll, he said, was worse than the legal fees. "I just wanted someone to hold my hand at night," he admitted. "I didn't think I'd have to fight for what I spent my whole life building." These stories aren't meant to scare you, they're meant to protect you. Because love in your 70s and beyond should enhance your life, not erase what you've worked so hard to preserve. And there are other, gentler ways to find connection without giving up control. Stability and peace of mind. It's also important to talk about the emotional weight of late life expectations. Often, we enter new relationships hoping for healing, especially if we've lost someone to illness or divorce. But remarriage can unintentionally carry silent expectations that the new person will fill what was lost, that they will match the companionship we had before. And when they don't or can't, it leads to quiet disappointment, even resentment. This isn't your fault nor theirs. It's human. Love is complex, especially after a lifetime of experiences. You've lived through war and recession, raised families, lost friends, buried loved ones, survived heartbreaks. Your heart carries more than most people can imagine. So expecting someone new to simply slot into your life seamlessly is both unfair to them and to you. One widow, Marcia, once said, "I married again because I was lonely. But I realized I wasn't actually ready to share my grief. I wanted someone to sit beside it, not erase it." Her words capture something powerful. Grief isn't something we get over. It becomes part of who we are. And unless a new partner truly understands that, the relationship can feel more like pressure than peace. Grief counselor Megan Devine, author of It's Okay That You're Not Okay, speaks often about how modern culture pushes us to move on too quickly. But for those of us over 70, there's no need to rush anything. Time doesn't heal all wounds, it just helps us make space for them. And in that space, we might discover we don't need to marry again. We might just need companionship that honors what we've lost, not tries to replace it. Even your health can be affected by remarriage more than you might expect. Studies have shown that seniors, especially women, often experience higher stress levels in second marriages than they did living alone. The reasons vary, adjusting to new routines, managing blended families, caregiving responsibilities, or even just sharing space again after years of independence. For men, remarriage sometimes brings comfort, but for women, it often brings more duties. More cooking, more emotional labor, more adjusting. And at 70 or beyond, that can be deeply draining. Think about that for a moment. You've spent a lifetime giving to others, raising children, managing homes, tending to parents, spouses, and careers. This chapter of your life is meant for ease, not exhaustion. For peace, not pressure. Let me pause here because we've already unpacked some deeply personal truths. If your heart is feeling a little heavy, I understand. These are not easy things to think about. but they are important. In the next part of this conversation, we're going to explore the remaining reasons why remarriage after 70 may not be the best path, and we'll talk about what to do instead to find love, companionship, and purpose that truly serves you. So, stay with me. You deserve clarity, you deserve peace, and you deserve to write this next chapter on your terms. There's another reason many experts urge caution before remarrying in your later years: family dynamics. You may think that by now, with everyone grown and living their own lives, your choices won't ruffle any feathers. But nothing stirs emotions in adult children quite like a new spouse coming into the picture. Even if your intentions are pure and loving, your children may not see it that way. And what begins as a hopeful new start for you can quickly turn into strained relationships, silent resentment, or outright conflict. You see, your children have known you in one way their entire lives. They're used to your role as parent, grandparent, family center. The idea of you giving your love, your time, or let's be honest, your resources to someone else can feel threatening. And while they may not say it out loud, you might feel the shift. Fewer calls, less warmth, a sense of distance. You may even hear subtle comments that sting, like, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" Or, "Don't forget about the grandkids." This tension isn't always rooted in greed or jealousy. Sometimes it's fear. Fear that you'll be taken advantage of. Fear that their memories of their other parent will be replaced. Or fear that they'll lose their closeness with you. And sometimes their concerns are valid. There have been many cases where seniors gave generously to new spouses, only to leave their children with complicated legal and emotional messes to untangle. But even if your family accepts your new partner, blending lives at this stage is not the same as when you're young. You're not just blending calendars, you're blending histories. Long ones with baggage. And that can be surprisingly hard to manage. One senior psychologist once said, when older adults remarry, they don't start a new life, they graft onto an old tree, and sometimes that tree has cracks. And let's not forget that remarriage doesn't just affect your children. It affects theirs too, your new partner's family. That means more birthdays, more holidays, more family politics. It can be overwhelming. Suddenly you're expected to show up for grandchildren who aren't yours, navigate loyalty battles, and smile through events where you feel like an outsider. That's not connection, that's obligation. And at this age, you've earned the right to choose peace over pressure. This brings us to perhaps the most overlooked reason to think twice: the quiet erosion of self. This one's harder to spot, but many seniors find that over time, being in a new marriage slowly dulls their sense of identity. In your younger years, marriage often shapes who you become. But later in life, you've already become. You know what matters to you. You've formed your values, routines, preferences. You have a rhythm, a sense of home. And introducing a new person, no matter how kind or loving, can start to chip away at that dot. At first, it might look like small compromises. You switch from your favorite radio station to theirs. You eat what they want for dinner. You cancel your weekly coffee group because they'd rather you stay in. Over time, you start reshaping your life to make room for theirs. And without even realizing it, you begin to fade, not because they asked you to, but because that's what marriage often requires. Give and take. But the question becomes, should you still be giving that much? At 70, 75, or 80, haven't you earned the right to be exactly who you are without the constant need to accommodate someone else? This doesn't mean you must be alone to be happy. Not at all. Companionship is vital. Studies show that seniors with strong social ties live longer, healthier, and more joy-filled lives. But companionship can take many forms. Friendship, community, chosen family, these can be just as fulfilling, sometimes even more so. because they come without the heavy emotional expectations of remarriage. Think of Barbara, 79, who chose not to remarry after her husband of 41 years passed. Instead, she moved into a small condo community and found her joy hosting weekly dinners with neighbors. "I miss being married sometimes," she said, "but I don't miss losing myself in someone else's needs." Her life is full not in the way she once imagined, but in the way she's chosen. On her terms. That perhaps is the heart of it. After a certain age, freedom becomes sacred. Peace becomes precious. And while love is still possible, still beautiful, it's not always worth the cost of losing the life you've so carefully created. So, what's the alternative? If not remarriage, then what? Well, that's where the beauty lies, because the answer isn't nothing. It's intention. It's crafting relationships that serve your spirit, not your sense of duty. It's letting go of what the world expects. What? Your church, your neighbors, even your own heart once expected, and embracing what makes you feel most like you. Maybe that means having a companion you date but don't live with. Maybe it means spending your days with friends who make you laugh until your sides ache. Maybe it's mentoring a young person, joining a travel group, taking art classes, or finally writing that memoir. These aren't consolation prizes, they're life, rich and real and yours. And if love does come again, then let it be love that fits into your life, not the other way around. Love that honors your boundaries. Love that respects your independence. Love that feels like sunlight, not shadow. So before you walk down the aisle again, pause. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Look around at what you've built. Listen to your inner voice. And ask yourself not, do I want to be loved? Because of course you do, but do I already have what I was searching for in someone else? Because sometimes, the most surprising kind of happiness comes not from starting over, but from settling fully into who you already are. If you've made it this far, thank you, truly. These conversations are not easy, but they are sacred. You are not alone in your questions, and whatever path you choose, you deserve peace, respect, and joy in every step. And if this message brought you clarity or comfort, consider sharing it with someone you care about. You never know who might be quietly struggling with these very same choices. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself.